right, folks, this is Mr. Ryan again. It's the ninth grade math for the summer session. This is going to be lesson 4.2, and we're going to continue with solving quadratic equations. So the first thing I want to talk about in order to understand this, we're going to talk about two things. One is called distribution, and the other one is called the zero product rule. Distribution has to do with multiplication, and the zero product rule also has to do with multiplication, hence the word product. Let's talk about the zero product rule first. This is a very important concept in mathematics, especially when it comes to quadratics and typically higher level high school mathematics. Okay, so the zero product rule has two parts. You already know the first one. The zero product rule says anything times zero. So anything times zero equals zero. We already know this. We learned this a long time ago. Okay, learned it probably in like third grade or something, right? 7 times 0 equals 0, right? 4 times 0 equals 0. I mean, I can put anything here because literally the rule is anything times 0 equals 0, okay? So if you multiply something times 0, the product is 0. The answer is 0. That's the first part of the zero product rule. You already know that part, but you may not be as familiar with the second part of the zero product rule. The second part of the zero product rule basically says that if your answer is 0, let's say to get 0 as an answer, I'm going to use middle school language here, or elementary school language maybe. To get 0 as an answer in multiplication, that means a product, okay? In multiplication, you must multiply by 0. You must multiply by 0. Meaning, there is no other way to get 0 as an answer in multiplication except to multiply by 0. That's the only way you can get 0. There is no other number in the entire world of, now we're talking the real number system, which is generally what we deal with in middle and high school math. Well, when we get to college, we learn new kinds of number systems where this rule may not apply. But generally speaking, if I have some number A times another number B, if the answer to this multiplication is 0, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0. Has to be true. A equals 0 or B equals 0. Okay? All right, let's look at another circumstance. Okay? What if we had what if I told you that we had some number that was made up of A plus B? That's a number, and I'm going to put parentheses around it. Then we had another number, and we're going to multiply. We had another number that was made by C plus D, okay? So this A plus B is a number, and C plus D is also a number. Let's say that multiplying A plus B times C plus D, let's say that results in 0, okay? Well, then either A plus B equals 0 or C plus D equals 0, okay? One or the other. Either A plus B has to be equal to 0 or C plus D has to be equal to 0, and that is the zero product rule. We're going to apply that in just a few minutes, okay? Now let's talk about distribution, okay? Distribution in math is a way of multiplying expressions that are also being added or subtracted, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that we have the number 5 that's being multiplied by a number, and that other number is 2 plus 7, okay? All right, well, 2 plus 7 is 9, so we know that 5 times 9 is 45, okay? But there's another way of getting this answer. We can distribute the 5 over the 2 and the 7. We can multiply 5 times 2 and then add that to 5 times 7. We're distributing. We're applying the 5 in multiplication to both the 2 and to the 7. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 5 times 7 is 35, and 10 plus 35 is 45. So look, we just got the same answer, okay? Here, we just added 2 plus 7 is 9, and 9 times 5 is 45. And then down here, we multiplied the 5 times the 2 first. Then we multiplied the 5 times the 7 second, and then because there's addition in between them, we put addition in between them, and we got a 10 and a 35, and we got 45. Now you may be thinking, Mr. Ryan, why in the world would you do something like that? It's so much easier just to do the 2 plus 7 is 9, and then multiply that by the 5. That's so much easier. Why in the world would you distribute? Well, what happens if you're dealing in letters instead of numbers? What if you're dealing in variables? What if you don't know what the numbers are, okay? If you don't know what the numbers are, then the distribution suddenly becomes very helpful, okay? So now I'm going to give you a few examples of distribution, okay? Let's say that I wanted to multiply x times x plus 1, okay? So the x here is representing a number, any number. This x is representing the same number, whatever the number is. If we decided that this x was going to be 4, this x would also be 4. And so we'd have 4 plus 1 is 5, and then 4 times 5 is 20. So this would equal 20 if the x was equal to 4. But what if the x was equal to 3? Well, then 3 plus 1 is 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. If the x equals 3, then this thing actually equals 12 instead. Well, what we can do is we can go ahead and do the distribution. We can't do this the first way, but what we can do is we can do the x times the x, and then do the x times the 1. Well, x times x, and then plus x times 1. And what we get here, x times x, is x squared, plus 1 times x is just x. And so this thing, this x times x plus 1, is equal to, it's the same thing as x squared plus x, okay? And there's a shortcut. You don't have to do it this way. You can just look at this and just do this times this, and then plus this times this, okay? And then write it out here, okay? So let's do another example. How about x times x minus 2? X times x minus 2. And here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do x times x, which is x, a second, it does that sometimes, x squared, and now x times negative 2 is negative 2x. And so our final answer is x squared minus 2x. We did another one here. How about x times x plus 6? X times x plus 6. I hope this is really easy. I mean, this is not that hard. You know, I mean, if I tried to make it hard, well, I have a way of making things pretty hard. But look, it's x times x. And x times x is always x squared. Then x times 6. So it's positive 6. So plus 6x. X times positive 6 is positive 6x. And so we have x squared plus 6x. We'll do one more. How about x times x minus 9? Okay. And that's going to be equal to x times x is x squared. And x times negative 9 is negative 9x. Okay. And that's it. That's how you distribute in this situation. What we're now going to do is we're gonna distribute two. Well, let me just do it, and I'll show you what it means. Well, so this right here, this x plus 1 is called a binomial. It's two parts. Okay. This x right here by itself, that's a monomial. That's one part. Okay. It's one term. This is one term, this is two terms. Okay, and so here we're multiplying a monomial times a binomial. Okay, you got to know these words. Don't just ignore these words. You should, in class, you should speak in the language of math. So we're using the language binomial. We're using the language monomial. Okay, look what the result is. The result is a binomial, a two-part expression, a two-term expression. Okay, what we're now going to do is we're going to learn how to distribute, or we're going to look at distribution where we do two binomials. It's not a monomial and a binomial. We're going to do two binomials. Okay, all right. So let's see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and erase here. Now let's get one of our examples is going to be. Let's see what our first example should be here. How about x plus 5 times x plus 6? So x plus 5 times x plus 6. Okay, now let me do a numerical example over here just to give you an idea. Let's say that we had 3 plus 2, that's 5, times 2 plus 7, which is what we had before, right? We had 5 times 9, right? Okay, oops, hang on a second. Let's undo that. 2 plus 7. There we go. All right, so essentially what we have here is 3 plus 2 is 5 times 2 plus 7 is 9. So we know that the answer is going to be 45, okay? But we can actually do this by distributing. Here's what we have to do. Everything over here has to be multiplied by everything over here. The 3 has to be multiplied by the 2, and then it has to be multiplied by the 7. So that's two multiplications, okay? Then this 2 has to be multiplied by this 2 and then by this 7. That's 2 more multiplications. That's a total of 4 multiplications. We've got 3 times 2, 3 times 7, 2 times 2, and 2 times 7. Okay, and it's going to wind up having a bunch of subtraction and addition signs in between, depending on whether you have subtraction or addition here. Okay, we have all addition here, so that's all we're going to have. So we're going to do 3 times 2. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do the 3 times 2. Okay, then we're going to do 3. So we did 3 times 2. Now we're going to do 3 times 7. Okay, so addition. Why addition? Well, because the 3 is positive and the 7 has a plus in front of it. So that's addition. 3 times 7. Now we're going to do 2 times 2, and it's addition again, plus 2 times 2. And then we're going to do 2 times 7. And because the 2 has addition and the 7 also has addition, a positive times a positive is a positive. So we're going to add 2 times 7. Okay, that's not 2.7, that's 2 times 7. Sorry about that. 2 times 7, okay? And so what we have here, 3 times 2, that's 6. Adjust my pen here. 6 plus 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 times 2 is 4, plus 2 times 7 is 14. Well, you can see here, 6 plus 21, that's 27, plus 4 times 14, that's 18, okay? And 27 plus 18, that is 45, okay? And so we get the same answer, 45, by distributing, okay? So I want to see, look what we did here is we did, we made sure that the 3 was multiplied by the 2 and then by the 7, then the 2 was multiplied by the 2, then the 2 was multiplied by the 7. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. We're going to multiply this x times this x. So that's going to be x times x, okay? Then we're going to multiply this x times the 6 all the way over here. And that's going to be plus 6x. Then we're going to multiply the 5 times this x. That's going to be plus 5x. And then we're going to multiply the 5 times the 6, and that's 30, plus 30. Then we have to clean this up. This x times x right here, that's x squared. This 6x plus 5x, these are like terms. Like terms have the same number with the same letter to the same power. Same number, not same number, sorry. A number to the same letter to the same power. So this is x to the first power. This is x to the first power, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to add the 6 and the 5. 6 plus 5 is 11, and then it's just going to have an x on it, an x to the first power, okay? So plus 11x. I want you to notice that this x does not have a square on it. Why does this x have a square and this x doesn't have a square? Because over here, this was multiplication. X times x is x squared. But x plus x does not put a square on the x. All it does is change the number in front. 6 plus 5 is 11, and then we just put the x on it. No square, okay? It's very important. I've seen that dozens of times, a misunderstanding. The only time two x's become a square is when you multiply the two x's times each other, okay? All right, and then here, this 30 is just a 30. So we're going to put plus 30. And so this is our final answer. We cannot reduce this. This is completely simplified. Our expression is now x squared plus 11x plus 30, okay? I think we should do a couple more examples that are just like that. Okay, let's multiply these. X plus 7 times x minus 3. So we're going to do x times x, that's x squared. Then we're going to do x times negative 3, that's minus 3x. Then 7 times x, that's a positive 7, so plus 7x. Then 7 times negative 3. 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. And now all we got to do is simplify what's in the middle here. We're going to bring over the x squared, negative 3x plus 7x. So negative 3 plus 7 is plus 4x, and then minus 21, and that's our answer. Okay. Now we're going to do the exact same thing here for x minus 2 and x minus 5. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is minus 5x. Negative 2 times x is minus 2x. And then negative 2 times negative 5 is plus 10, because negative 2 times negative 5, negative times a negative is a positive. Okay. Now, all we got to do is combine the negative 5x and the negative 2x, and we're done. So we've got x squared, then negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7, minus 7x, and then we've got a plus 10. And there we go, we're done. That's our distribution. And what this means is that this is equal to this thing over here. They're the exact same thing, okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use this information. Well, now that we've learned how to distribute and do the zero product rule, the last thing that I want to do is I want to use the zero product rule to solve some quadratic equations. So I'm going to set up some examples, and then I'm going to and we're going to work through them. Okay, so we have three quadratic equations here. X times x minus 4 is equal to 0. X times x plus 8 is equal to 0, and x times x plus 6 is equal to 0. Okay. Now, note that we have something, a monomial times a binomial, and it's equal to 0. Well, by the zero product rule, that means that either the x is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0. That must be true. The only way we can get 0 is an answer by multiplication. This is multiplication right here. The only way we can get 0 as an answer is if either x is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0. So the very first thing we're going to do here is we're going to set up two problems. We're going to say, one of them is going to say x is equal to 0. The other one is going to say x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now, they both can't be true, but one of them has to be true. Well, this one doesn't need a solution. This one's done. This says that x is equal to 0. So one of the solutions is that x is equal to 0. But this other one, we need to solve for x minus 4 equals 0. And we're going to add 4 here, and add 4 here. That's going to cancel the minus 4, bring down the x, and that equals 0 plus 4 is just 4. And so our second solution is x equals 4. So our two solutions are x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 4. Those are the two possibilities. We're going to do the exact same thing here. So for x times x plus 8 is equal to 0, we're going to separate it. We're going to write, and you're going to do this every time. You're going to write out two separate equations. The first equation is going to be this thing equals 0. The second equation is going to be this thing equals 0, just like we did here. We did x equals 0, and we did x minus 4 equals 0. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go sideways on this one. I'm going to say one of them is x equals 0. The other one is x plus 8 equals 0. Well, this one's done. We're done there. This one, we just have to minus 8, cancel, bring down the x, bring down the equals. 0 minus 8 is negative 8. And so our second solution is x minus 8. So our two solutions for this are x equals 0 and x equals negative 8. Now you may be thinking, Mr. Ryan, there is no way that it's this easy. Yes, it is. Okay, this is exactly how easy it is. And many people struggle, I think, probably because they think it should be more complicated than this. It's not. This is how easy it is. So looking at this one, you may say, hey, Mr. Ryan, I already know the answers. Oops, my pen's not working. The answers are x equals 0 and x equals negative 6. And you're correct. Those are the right answers. Well, let's see why those are the right answers. Okay, let's go ahead and erase this stuff. Come back here. All right, so we're going to write them out as two separate. We're going to take this one and set that equal to 0. So x equals 0. Well, we're done with that one. Then we're going to take this one and set it equal to 0. X plus 6 equals 0. Good. Then we're going to subtract 6, cancel the plus 6, carry down the x, carry down the equals. 0 minus 6 is negative 6. And your second answer is x equals negative 6, just like you said it would be. And you were right, okay? All right, so that's all we have to do for this. I only have one more variety to show you, and we'll be done with this lesson. All right, let's solve these three. So what we're going to do now, notice that this one is the one that has the two binomials, and it's set equal to 0. And because of the zero product rule, in order for this times this to equal 0, either x plus 5 is equal to 0 or x plus 6 is equal to 0. Those are the only two possibilities. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, set one up, we're going to say x plus 5 equals 0. And then we're going to set up x plus 6 equals 0. Over on this x plus 5, we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. That's going to and then we're going to cancel the plus 5, bring down the x, bring down the equals. 0 minus 5 is negative 5, and so one of our solutions is x equals negative 5. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to subtract 6, cancel the plus 6, carry down the x, carry down the equals. 0 minus 6 is negative 6, so our second solution is x equals negative 6. And look, if we put a minus 5 in here, minus 5 plus 5 is 0, and 0 times anything is equal to 0. Or if we put a negative 6 in here, negative 6 plus 6 is 0, and 0 times anything equals 0. And that's why these two are the solutions. Okay, let's do the same thing here. We've got x minus 4 times x minus 7 is equal to 0. Okay, and so we're going to set up two equations. We've got our x minus 4 equals 0, and we've got our x minus 7 equals 0. On the first one, we're going to add 4 to both sides, cancel the negative 4, bring down the x, bring down the equals. 0 plus 4 is 4, and so one of our solutions is x equals 4. For the x minus 7, we're going to add 7 to both sides, cancel the minus 7, carry down the x, carry down the equals. 0 plus 7 is 7, and our other solution is x equals 7. So our two solutions are x equals 4 and x equals 7. Okay. Now this last one here, we've got x minus 3 times x plus 9. When you multiply them, they equal 0, so that means one of the two of them equals 0. So we're going to say x minus 3 equals 0 is one of our is going to be one of our equations. Our other equation will be x plus 9 equals 0. On the first one, we'll add 3 to both sides, cancel the minus 3, carry down the x, and then 0 plus 3 is equal to 3. So one of our solutions is x equals 3. On the other one, we'll subtract 9 from both sides, cancel the 9, bring down the x, equals 0 minus 9 is negative 9, and so our other solution is x equals negative 9. So x equals 3, and x equals negative 9. Okay? All right, the last thing I want to do right now is I want to show you what I want you to do on lesson sheet 4.2. For every question, I want you to do two things for every question. All right, and I'm going to show you right now what those two things are. Okay, these are the two kinds of questions that you will see on lesson sheet 4.2. These are on the front, these are on the back. There's a bunch of them. There's like, I think, 9 or 12 of each of these. And once you get, if you work through them, you should get pretty fast at them, and then you'll be really good at this. Okay, these are not meant to take 5 minutes each. These are the sorts of questions you can probably do in about a minute each, okay? What I want you to do is, first I want you to distribute, then I want you to solve for the equation. So first, for the first part, you're going to ignore the equals here. You're just going to look at the left side, and you're going to do distribution, like the first thing we learned in this lesson, well, the second thing we learned in this lesson. Then, after you've done the distribution, then I want you to do the solution like we did a few minutes ago, okay? So the first thing that I want you to do for these is you're going to distribute. We're going to do x times x, which is x squared. So that's x times x, and then we're going to do the x minus 7. That's minus 7x. Okay, done. That's all you have to do for the first part, is do the distribution. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to do the solution. So now we got to set the x equal to 0, and then we got to set the x minus 7 equal to 0. Okay, now the x equals 0, that's done. On the x minus 7, we need to add 7 to both sides, cancel. We get x equals 0 plus 7 is 7, and now we're done. Okay, you're going to do both of those things. First distribute, then you're going to solve the equation. We're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, first distribute. Okay. Let's see here. So we're going to do x times x is x squared. Then x times negative 2 is minus 2x. Then we're going to do 6 times x is plus 6x. Then we're going to do 6 times negative 2 is minus 12. Then we're going to combine these two terms here. So bring over the x squared. Then negative 2 plus 6 is plus 4. So we're going to put plus 4x. If you want to use the numworks calculator for that part, that's fine. And then now we just need the minus 12. Minus 12. Done. That's all you have to do for step 1. Okay? And then the second thing that I want you to do is solve. Okay? So we're going to take our x plus 6 and set it equal to 0. Then we're going to take our x minus 2 and set it equal to 0. Equals 0. Sorry about that. Then we're going to, over here, we're going to minus 6 both sides. Cancel the plus 6, and we get x equals 0 minus 6 is negative 6. That's one solution. And then over here, we're going to add 2, cancel, bring down the x, bring down the equals. Okay? Then 0 plus 2 is 2, and so our second solution is x equals 2. So for every question, you're going to do both parts. You're going to distribute, and then you're going to solve. Same thing for these. You're going to distribute, and then you're going to solve. And that's it for lesson 4.2. See you in 4.3.